Hey guys, welcome to the Coaching Edge. I am really excited to get deeper into our session today. We're really going to go into the difference between a good coach and a great one. So, as always, you can drop your questions in the chat. If you have any questions for me, just drop them over there and we're going to get into it. And I want to I usually start off with like an industry insight or a hot topic, but I actually want to start off today with a story that happened with my youngest daughter on Monday because I thought it was so profound and she doesn't even know she's 8. So we were driving, it was actually both my daughters, but we were driving in on Monday and my 8-year-old, my youngest said, "Wait, it's almost the weekend." And I was like, "No, baby, it was literally just a weekend like yesterday. Like yesterday was the weekend. Today's Monday. We still have the entire week till we get into the weekend." And she was like thinking, and the reason why she had mentioned that is because she was already getting a little like upset. Like she had school. She knew that it was Monday, that she was going to have school this week, all those different things that she didn't want to do. And so she was just sitting there and then she realized, oh, wait, no, it's almost the weekend. And I was like, it's really, again, it's like really not almost the weekend. And when she was just feeling like Friday, the weekend was so far away. And then she goes, no, wait, it really is almost the weekend. It's just 2 days and then 2 more days. And then it's Friday and Friday is basically the weekend. So we're almost there. And I was like, huh. And I sat with that for a minute and nothing changed, right? It was still Monday. The weekend was still literally yesterday on Monday. And she still had all the things she didn't want to do that week, all the same stuff. The distance was exactly the same. Nothing changed except for her relationship to it. And that changed completely how she felt. She was pumped because now it was almost a weekend instead of, oh my gosh, we're just starting the week. And I really started to think about that because, like, bigger picture wise, like how I do this, how we all do this. And we do this when we think about like our to-do list. When you look at absolutely everything that you have to do and you see it all at once, it's really overwhelming. You don't know where to start. Like you start to make it mean so much more about you. But when you break that down into what you're doing today and then maybe what needs to be done tomorrow, it's still the exact same list. It's the exact same amount of work, but your relation to that changes. Right. So it changes. And I'm not talking about like just like this positive thinking concept here. Like I'm a realist. I see problems. I see challenge. So I'm not telling you to pretend that things are easier when they're not. I'm talking about something that's honestly way more powerful than that because this is when you can actually see the problem and you can change your relationship to it. It's how you relate to things, how you see them, how you experience them. This story that runs about whatever's happening in your life that makes it feel impossible before you even start it. And this applies to everything. And I'm talking about it today because for coaches, it gets really interesting because now we're dealing with this with ourselves, our relationship with whatever we're dealing with, and also our clients as well. And clients are doing this every single day. They're doing this every single session. And so they're looking at their patterns and the things that they keep trying to change and then the relating them in a way that makes that change feel like it's so far away, right? Like Monday, like it's Monday and now it's so far off. And there's so much between them and where they want to be that it feels so overwhelming and they feel like they can't make the changes or they can't do the things that they want to do. And so that's a huge part of your job. Right. A job as a coach is to help them see and change that relationship with what that looks like, not just like fix the pattern itself immediately in that moment. Right. Eventually that comes, but change how they see it, how they experience it, and what they're making it mean about themselves and what's possible for them. So as a coach, those are things that you actually have to do. Honestly, good coaches can help a client shift how they relate to something when it's happening. And then there's great coaches who can really do this as well. So that's what we're going to get into today. I really want to talk about those differences. And I want to talk about the difference between a good coach and a great one. And there's going to be 3 main things that we're going to talk about because these are the 3 main things that I think are the most important. And I want to be really clear about where I think a lot of people get really misunderstood or they misunderstand what makes a great coach and a good coach. Because a lot of people think if you're just passionate enough that you're going to be a great coach. And the coaches I watch who aren't getting their clients the results that they want, they care deeply. They are incredibly passionate about what they do. They're also sometimes very knowledgeable about what they do. So that's not it. That's not the gap. And this is what the thing that I believe with absolutely everything that I have is that competence will build confidence, not the other way around. You don't get confident first and then get good. You build the confidence and that feeds your confidence. And the more confidence you have, the more competence you can gain. But you're going to have to start with competence first. You have to get good and then confidence will always follow. So coaches who show up fully present, who can sit in these very uncertain, challenging moments without the flinching, without being scared, without letting all of their baggage run into that session, they're the ones who know, they know that when something real comes up, that they're going to be able to stay with it. And they got there by building the skill, by building the competence, by knowing more, practicing more, putting in more reps, and by developing actual competence. I want to make that really, 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 really clear because we're never just going to just skip ahead and get to where you want to go without putting in that work 100% of the time. And so right now, the stakes are honestly higher than ever when it comes to your competence as a coach because there are AI apps out there that are coaching and people are paying, $32 a month, maybe. And then the average version of coaching, like this the standard baseline is being now automated with AI. So there's for you to be able to stand out, you have to be able to have a skill that as of right now cannot be automated of where we stand today, April 1st, 2006, right? It cannot be automated. And so I want to show you exactly what those things are. And so I had mentioned that we're going to talk about like the fork in the road. And so every coach, if you're a coach, you've been in a session before when something comes up, something real is bubbling to the surface. There's a lot of weight behind it. There's a lot of emotion behind it. So there's this moment right there in right there, like literally a fraction of a second where you feel it. It's heavy. You know there's more there. That's the fork that I'm talking about because you can go towards that or you can go around it. You can lean into that or you're going to go a completely different direction. Most coaches go around it. They ask another question. They reflect back what the client said. They summarize, they soften, they keep the session moving. And then that moment passes and their client goes, the client leaves and they've had a good session, right? They've had insight, they feel heard, but they come back next session and they're doing exactly the same thing. They're in the exact same place. So that's a decent coach, right? If we want to call it that, but we're doing good versus great. A great coach goes into it. A great coach goes towards that. And that's not because they're naturally braver or they're naturally more confident. It's truly because they've built the competence to know what to do when they go into that, when they get there, when the client feels something and they lean into that because they've done their own work. They know their own patterns well enough that when something comes up, they can feel whether it's like their insecurity arising or if it's their clients. So that's what's really important here as well. And they can stay present enough to follow that. They have the skill to go into it. They're not scared about what's going to happen. They're not worried if the client's going to like them or dislike them, right? This is a very specific learnable skill. Most coaches are never going to teach it. Most certifications are never going to teach this because it's really hard to package, right, into a module. It is very difficult to learn this skill, but it is a learnable skill, right? And so that's something that is absolutely important. So think about your last couple of sessions. Like if you're actively coaching right now, think about your last couple of sessions and think about when you felt something and you know that it was big and you went around it instead. Right? You know you could have leaned further into it, or maybe you did lean a little bit into it, right? Maybe you did lean a little bit and then things got a little uncomfortable and maybe you were doubting yourself. You weren't really sure what to do next after you did that. That's a starting point for you, right? So really, really look at what you need to do with that. Right? Okay, so there's another space here, and this is the active listening trap. And this right here really pisses a lot of coaches off, like a lot. Like they don't like this when I'm training. This is something that I get a lot of pushback on, and I feel very strongly about it. So we're gonna talk about it. So let's just use a pay scale. Like if you're charging $500 an hour, that's about $8 a minute for your client. Like if we just break it down to that 60-minute time frame, that's about $8 a minute. So every time you say, what I hear you say is, and then you repeat back exactly what your client just told you, you just charge them $8 freaking dollars. to hear their own words repeated back to them. Why? They already know what they said. They're the ones who said it. Like, I'm not talking about sometimes where you need clarity. I'm not talking about like you repeating back something to the client that they didn't actually register that they said. I'm talking about the absolute freaking traditional. What I hear you say is this. What I hear you say is that. It's because you were taught this. Your certification literally told you this is how you show up. This is active listening. This is how your client feels heard. And you're mirroring back to them exactly what they said. Now, the intention behind that's good, whatever, but it doesn't create effective sessions. Because this is what actually is happening. Your client sits there, they're nodding, they feel heard, they feel validated, and then nothing moves outside of that. Nothing changes. I talk about this all the time. Your client's going to come back next week and they're going to be doing the exact same thing, maybe slightly shifted. Maybe there was a slight difference. So they're going to feel a little bit momentum, but you know there's more. And I'm telling you right now, if you're repeating back to your client, and if you ever say what I hear you say is in a session, it's not effective. And I will stand on that all day long, because I hear it all the time. I hear all the time when I'm reviewing sessions, what I hear you say is this, and you're completely missing the point. You're completely diluting your opportunity for challenge. So somewhere in the back of your mind, you might be wondering like if this is actually helping them, or is it just making them feel really good? That thought right there, that's not like what some people would call like imposter syndrome. That's your instincts telling you the truth. All you are doing in that moment is making them feel good, making them feel seen. Being seen means absolutely nothing if they're not going to change. We don't need to just see things to see things. We need to see things to move things, to change things. And if you're not recognizing that, then you have a place to level up. So active listening, the way that most certifications are teaching it, it causes a major delay. It's also, and again, this is where it gets really sticky. And I know some people on here are nodding their heads agreeing with me because they already heard me this or heard me talk about this, and they know the difference between good coaching versus great coaching. And then other people that are listening to this are probably, you may feel a little reaction within yourself. That's okay. But I'm going to really challenge you to look at this. If you're doing this, and if your certification taught you to do this, I'm going to really challenge you to stop and to ask yourself, really serving your client, Because when another a big thing with this is, and why I bring that challenge up, is because this is oftentimes what coaches do when they don't know what to do next and they need a second to figure it out. When they don't quite know the direction to go, when they've hit that fork in the road and they don't know which way they're going to take it. And that client's paying for that second. They're paying for you repeating back. They're paying, one, in movement and also intangible money. So that great coach hears what the client is actually saying, and you do something with it. You follow the thread, you find what's underneath it, you find what's supporting it, you find what their payoff is, right? All these different concepts that we've talked about. If you've been, here, or you've trained with me, you know that going towards into that is really powerful. And that's what you absolutely are going to have to do. Every time you feel that urge to say, like, what I'm hearing you say is this, again, fork in the road. That's the exact moment that if you really want to step into an elite level of coach, and you need to know the difference at a great coach and what a good coach, they're going to make completely different decisions. So you have to be analyzing this for yourself. You have to really be clear on what this looks like for you. And that decision that you make there it will 100% be the difference in the session that moves someone towards something and actually creates change, or just makes someone feel pretty good, seen and heard and valued, which you can still do that with taking the other path, with going deeper into it, with not letting them off the hook, with you being so uncomfortable with where you're pushing and challenging that your client's so uncomfortable with it, and you're following that thread no matter what. So again, in your sessions, the next time you feel that urge to reflect something back, just stop. Ask a question instead. Ask a question. Ask, what does that mean to you? What is that saying about you? Say more about that. If you're not clear yet, because sometimes people are like, well, this is a big argument I get a lot, but I wasn't clear about what they said. Then just say, I'm not clear what you mean. And can you clarify this? Do you mean this, or do you mean that? Just be direct. You don't have to repeat things back. What I'm hearing you say is this. right? Again, I'm gonna move on from that because I could stay on that soapbox for a very long time. Now, the third one is a lot more subtle because it can look like you're doing something really good from like the outside, like you're really getting deep into coaching. And it's when your client says something like, and it's something really emotional, and you can feel that weight. And instead of letting that land, and instead of like staying in it and seeing like what comes up, what the coach will do is they'll explain it. They'll summarize it. They'll ask more questions and they'll keep moving. Like, right? So when something's bubbling to the surface and you're like, well, of course this is happening because, or, oh, a lot of people, you normalize it. A lot of people feel like this. And again, that can seem like you're doing a good job with coaching because you think that that silence that can come after that feels like failure, or you're not contributing. So all of these things, as you can always tell, is what are you thinking in your mind? What are you making it mean? So if nothing is happening out loud, then maybe it feels like nothing's happening at all. And that's a big piece. Like silence is massive. And some people think they're utilizing it well, and they're really not. But some of the most important things that can happen in that session happen in the silence. When silence just sits there and you just let it brew, the client finally hears something that they need from themselves in a thought, or they're reflecting back on what they said. You don't have to reflect it back to them. And they actually see it, they feel it, they experience it. And then something within them shifts. Right. Your only job is to a lot of times your job is to stay out of the client's way. Let things settle, let them feel it, let them experience it. After you've asked a question and they're kind of like, moving around in it, let it be there. So that coach who can't sit in that silence, and they keep interrupting in the moments, they keep offering more, they keep explaining more. A lot of times they don't know why they're doing it. They think that they're being really helpful. They think that they're keeping the energy, the pace up. They think that they're serving the client, but filling that space, I promise, is always about the coach's discomfort. It's always about your discomfort as the coach, not the client's need. And that's really important for you to recognize and to understand and to set with. Is your discomfort disrupting what the client actually needs? And the more you lean into your discomfort, the more you work on your own stuff, like we always talk about, the better this skill and this competence will get. So the coach who has the skill knows what silence is for. They can feel that difference between silence that needs something, right? Because there is silence in a session that it does need you to kind of ask or redirect or prompt in that. And there's silence that needs to be left alone, to let it sit, to let them simmer in, wait around in that question and in their understanding of it. And oftentimes that's because they've gotten really comfortable in consistently asking questions in that space. And they're comfortable enough with their own uncertainty to let that moment do what that moment is supposed to do, instead of, they haven't gotten that comfortability to be able to allow that. That comfort comes from the competence that we've been talking about, and from having it done enough times. Like, so from being silent enough that you trust it, from having the skill, the competence that you can trust the silence, and then that what's on the other side of that. So something to look for here is that in your next session, after something really lands, right? After something lands, if your client's going through this, don't summarize back to them what just happened. Pause for 5 seconds before you say anything and see what happens in those 5 seconds. It can be a really powerful tool. So I just went through 3 things that really separate a good coach from a great coach. And this is just, the very beginning. There's so many other things, but those are the main ones I wanted to talk about today. And I want to talk about your edge for the week, like what you can take away from this session and actually go apply into what you can actually use, and not just like write it down, like really take it into the session. So after your client says something really heavy this week, something with weight, something where you feel, again, we're talking about that fork in the road. First, we're just going to talk about what we've already talked about. Instead of reflecting it back, instead of summarizing it, instead of asking the next question, you're truly just going to pause. You're not going to say anything. Right? You're just going to stop. Let them go wherever they go. You're not guiding. You don't need to redirect it. You don't need to fill the space. You're going to know when this moment is. Okay. And then that's what you're going to do. You can even just say more about that. Tell me a little bit more about that. And then see what comes up, because what they say is the thing that they need to say. And if you take the face value of what comes up immediately, you're not getting to the depth. You're staying on the surface. Because if you don't wait, then you will only stay on the surface, because they don't have time to go deeper. They don't have time to do that. So notice what happens in you in those moments. Notice if you feel that urge to rescue in the silence. Notice if you want to add something, right? Notice if you feel uncomfortable. That urge is that's your fork in the road. That's that moment where you either go towards it or you go around it. So every time you choose to go towards it, you build the skill. And every time you build the skill, the confidence gets more real, right? It's a confidence competence loop. Competence builds confidence. Competence builds confidence. And the more confident you are, the more capable you are becoming more competent, right? Every single time, that's how it works. Right. So again, when we think about this and going back to I opened up with the story about my daughter and the relationship as well. Like there's certain things in your coaching that you need to change your relationship with. There's certain things in your client's journey that they need to change their relationship with. And that's what great coaching is going to do for a client. That's how you become a great coach. It's not always about changing the pattern. It's first about changing how you relate to it, and then the pattern can change. Because if you never change how you relate to the pattern, it can't change, right? So help your client understand how they see things, how they move through it, and then see what that pattern's been doing for them, and then things will start to change after that. I don't fill that space. This is exactly what we do in my certification in CMA. This is exactly what I teach you. So if you're interested in learning more about that, drop me a message and I'll send you all the links that you need. The August cohort is open. So that's something that if you're ready, that we'll have a conversation about. But I want to turn this over to see if anyone has any questions about anything that we've talked about today, any client journey and issues that you're having with your clients or questions about that. So if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. If not, we'll wrap up here pretty soon. And when we have these questions, guys, it's really powerful. If you have questions, bring them each week. If you don't want to come on, you can drop them in the chat. You can send them to me before as well, right? We're here every single Wednesday. We do this every single Wednesday. So any questions that you guys have, I'm more than happy to answer them. These can be, what do you want to do with the client? Your client's dealing with this? Ask me. Right? Really powerful things to bring each week. So it doesn't look like we have any questions today. So we're going to wrap up. So I hope that you understand what your fork in the road is. Hope you understand how you can take this edge and you can take this edge into your coaching this week and you can really come out stronger. And I look forward to all that we're going to talk about next week as well. So I'll see you then. Bye, guys.